Good evening. We're delighted to be joined by Joint Manager Andrew Danylyszyn this evening. Good evening, Andrew.
Good evening, Kevin.
And first question is, well, statement really. The first time we sat down and did an interview was when you'd just been confirmed as having the role until the end of last season.
Yeah.
And it's fair to say things have moved on significantly since then. How are you feeling?
Elated, really. I've gone into obviously seasons before managing teams like under 18s and under 15s or under 16s. So to go into a season where it's the first team and the 3 points really matter, having that chance to build your own squad in terms of going to recruit players or players that you think are going to suit your philosophy, that's engaging. That brings a lot of excitement. Sort of the biggest feeling as well is that everyone mentions sort of how young I am as a manager, and also how young Gaz is, not in terms of age but in terms of maybe managing at this level. So they speak about that, and there's a real drive and a determination to show people sort of that what we are as a management team and prove to people that we're ready for the job and to push the club forward. I've got like the bit between my teeth, and I know Gaz has as well, in terms of proving a point, especially when I hear some of the other budgets of the other clubs. I'm really hungry to do well, and I said this before probably, but it's not a hopeful to do well. I feel that we've got control of doing well or not, because it's our players on the training pitch. We get a chance to work with them, so I cannot wait for the first pre-season game to get going and just to work with the lads continuously.
And that's only a matter of a week or so away now, at home to West Bromwich Albion, of course.
Yeah. So obviously I work at West Brom as well, in the youth section. So I know some of the staff there, great staff. So when I spoke to Mark Harrison, the academy manager there, and spoke to him about the game, and he got back to me and confirmed it, I was delighted, because obviously it's like a bit of an audition, I suppose, for hopefully 5 years' time that maybe I'm working in the higher age groups or hopefully with the first team or wherever in the future. So it's a bit of an audition, I think, or looking at it, but also just that the prestige of West Brom coming to here, that it's obviously local in the area, and the fans, for the fans it's going to be brilliant as well, and I'm looking forward to the challenge, if you like, because I know there's some excellent players at West Brom.
It's brilliant when we play the likes of West Brom or Aston Villa, because of course a lot of Tamworth fans do have a big club, a Premier League club or a Championship club that they follow, and I know quite a few that were West Brom or Baggies fans and Villa fans, so
yeah,
it will be great. A lot of banter going about, and it'll be a really good test for your new squad.
Yeah, totally. I'm in the mindset though that at the end of the day, whether you play it's 11 versus 11, I never look into the opposition dugout and think, oh, this manager's better than me, or that coach is better than me. I want the players to have that same sort of mindset, that at the end of the day it's 11 v 11. I know there's levels and quality, but there's got to be a winning mentality and an hunger and desire to do well, and an hunger and desire to the opponent that you're playing against get the better of him. So I can definitely say that I'm going to have the Tamworth colours in my heart that night, even though I do work for West Brom, and I'm just looking forward to playing them, to see the crowd, to see the atmosphere down here. And like you said, there's some fans what support West Brom, support Aston Villa, Birmingham and teams like that, so for them to come down and watch that, it'd be brilliant for the fans. And that's one of the reasons we wanted them games, was pushing for them games as a test for ourselves, but also for the fans, give something back to the fans, because loads of people ask me for tickets, by the way, just to let West Brom know, show you, I make sure they're ready for me. I've got to say that.
We're all really looking forward to it, and it's a very different situation now compared to when you took caretaker charge along with Gaz. Well, there was about 15 games left to go last season, wasn't it? The atmosphere around the club, we spoke about it off air, didn't we? And you can almost feel it. It's a vibrant place. Everybody's engaged, really interested, and really excited for the new season. But how are you feeling about the new season?
I've got an hunger and desire to get Tamworth out of this league. I'm quietly confident in terms of, like I said off air, that you're in control of how the team does as a manager, in terms of, and a coach, in terms of your philosophy of how we're going to play. I think this is the start of a journey, on a journey that I've been working for and towards, to sort of progress Tamworth Football Club first and foremost up the leagues, but also to progress myself up the leagues, and having that opportunity at Tamworth, I can't explain. It's like I'd work 24 hours a day, and it'd feel like not work, if that makes sense. I just want to be at the club all the time. I want to be on the coaching, on the pitch coaching, and I'm just really excited for the programme that we've got in place, for the players that we've recruited and got, and also excited for what we're going to do in the league, because I feel like quietly confident that we're going to do really well, because I think we've got control of our destiny as managers of the football club, and the players that we've got I'm excited about. So I'm just actually on like fire, I'm buzzing. Every morning I get up when I'm coming to Tamworth, it's like, yes, I can't wait to get in. So it's that feeling at the moment. And when I speak to the fans and how they want the club to do so well, then the board want the club to do so well. It don't feel like a pressure. It feels like a privilege to say, okay, I'm gonna do my utmost and give 1,000% to do well on an individual basis, but for you guys, so you can have some joy, because that's what everyone wants at the club.
Very good.
Yeah.
I always go away from our chats, and like a lot of people do, just feeling very, you're infectious, Andrew.
Cheers.
I think that's the way of putting it, in a really good way.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I know a lot of people have said very similar things back to me about you as well, so you're certainly doing the right thing. So
yeah, no, I'm just glad that when you and some of the other staff members and then the fans say that there's a buzz around the club, and it's working well. It's nothing magic. I mean, Gaz is brilliant, obviously, with the man-to-man management, but also just managing the staff and making everyone feel part of. Like I said, there's people like, we're all as important as each other. Yourself, Buster, Deggs, the chairman, the vice chairman, physio. We're all one. There's no one more important than anyone else. So it's just giving that sort of, the goalkeeping coach the same. It's just giving everyone what they do, the ownership to do what they want, and trusting them. So in a family feel that we're all important as each other, and like the fans, like building that rapport is just staying behind with fans, win, lose or draw, because it's their club, and they're going to probably be here longer than I am, or they will be here longer than I am in the long run. Buster, Deggs have been here for years, they're part of the furniture. So it's, for me, it's making them feel that this is their club more than it is ours. And the players have got that same attitude. They come back to the bar, little things, I know it's not those, but 5:45, 6 o'clock, they don't leave the bar until that. We've got a rule, because they've got to be with the fans, because we're all one. So it's just that family atmosphere, and that family ethos. I think Tamworth forgot that anyway, and did have that. So it was just a case of bringing that back and bringing that feel-good environment.
Absolutely. With the way that last season finished, I guess you didn't really want it to end, because we were in such good form.
Yeah.
I think we only lost 3 under yours and Gaz's stewardship. However, it's given the club chance really to sort of prepare really for a promotion push this year.
Yeah. And
to take stock and recruit. Obviously, we've lost a couple of players as well, but we seem to have brought in some talent. And how would you say that the recruitment has gone so far? And is there more to come?
I'll let you know about that one. But in terms of recruitment, before the season finishes, you sort of know that a couple of players are going to be sought after. So you have to have sort of people in mind. So then, in terms of video analysis, sat down with Gaz and was looking for players in terms of what players we think are really good and what players suit our philosophy. It's not about signing names. It's about signing players what suit your philosophy, and also signing players what you know are going to be good for the changing room. So when we talk about how the club's changed, it's about generating an environment within the changing room and off the field as well as on the field. Players are going to work hard. Players have the attributes to work hard and the physical conditioning to work hard. So we're really, really happy. If I look at the players that we've got in, like Nathaniel Roturna, Reece Onis. Reece scored 27 goals in all competitions. Nathaniel was a very accomplished defender. I look at Forde, he's a winner. He won Supporters Player of the Year. He's got that winning mentality. Greg Casaboni, a very exciting player, a very exciting winger who scores goals. He's got a good work ethic, a good pedigree, playing for Northampton Town under A.D. Boothroyd. So we targeted some players way before, when I say way, sort of maybe a month ago, we looked at players and said, them players would really suit our philosophy, because you sort of know what players might go. You want to keep them, you try your hardest to keep them, but then if clubs are knocking on the door from higher levels, like with Chris Lake, for example, you've got to take that into consideration. The lad wants to play. But we're really excited about the players that we've got in terms of recruitment. We think it's been really good. We've got a lot of pace and power in the team, and we think that suits our philosophy, so we're excited about them players.
So are there areas that you still want to strengthen then?
Well, one of the things I sat down with Gaz, and Gaz was sort of in agreement when we spoke about it, is we've known in previous years where we're still signing players in August, for example. And I'm under the mindset that it's not about a budget you've got or what players you recruit, so to speak. It's about coaching and having contact time with the players. So, for example, we've got most of our squad in now. There's the ability to take some loan moves off the clubs that we know in the area, some professional clubs, because of the contacts that we have, Gaz and etc. So, but it's about working with the players on the training ground. So come the first game of the season, that they know what they're doing. So for me, we knew which players we wanted, we targeted them, we went and got them players. Sometimes you miss out on one or two, but now we've got the chance of working 6 weeks in pre-season with them players. So then players are going to know what to do in possession, out of possession. So really, I'd say the squad's more or less there. We might be looking at maybe one position, but in that position we're looking at and saying, well, we've got some young players who did well, like at right back. People know Christian Green's gone. We've got a couple of young lads in there who've done really well, so it's about giving them the opportunity before we possibly go out and get someone to say, hey, you take your opportunity because we think they're good enough. And we've got to be taking lads who've come from the 21s, like a Kyle Ambris, and who've come from the 19s, like a Rashawn Francis. Because they've done really well, why not give them a chance? So give them pre-season, and they're dealing with it really well in training. So I want, because I'm working at an academy, I've worked in an academy all my life, I've worked with Mike Fowler with the 19s, giving some of our own players that opportunity to progress, who are good enough, by the way, rather than going to sign player after player, name after name, because that's not the way. But we've got most of our squad here now, if I'm being honest with you. We kept obviously 12, 13 from last year, because there was good players and we did so well, like you said, Kev. So it was not, I just want to make it clear, it's not about changing anything what we did last year. You just said about we had some good momentum, we're building on that. So in terms of the coaching programme, in terms of the way we dealt with things on a match day, in the changing rooms, in the dugout, I might calm down a little bit and not run down the touchlines as much, but we're going to keep that same. Nothing's going to change at this football club. What me and Gaz started, because we've got some of that's working. The places have got a buzz around it. The changing room's got a buzz around it, and we're performing really well. So changing that process or that philosophy and that ethos, what we've generated, would be, I think, a backward step. I think it's about building on that. So we're really happy with the squad that we've already got, to be honest.
Happy with the training sessions so far?
Yeah, like I said, so obviously Gaz is very good at the man management side, which I've mentioned already. Tom Bailey's come in terms of it. He knows the league really well, and he's got some qualities and strengths that I'm very optimistic will complement what we're doing already, not changing anything, complementing Gaz and myself. I lead the coaching and the tactical side of it, but training's been excellent. The intensity, I've pointed out to the lads about what we'll run each game. So there's a real buy-in from the players, because players are coming from like Kettering, as you know. We've got a couple of players who've come from higher leagues as well, who are saying that this is a real professional outfit, that with the GPS vest, with the analysis we've just employed on games, that it's ran and the intensity of training is really good. So with that sort of professionalism, what we've brought and the structure of the programme, players are coming from other clubs and saying, you're doing things here like a professional club. So there's a buy-in from them already. So the training sessions, we've had 3 already, they've worked tremendously hard, and I've told them that's going to be the only way. If you don't work hard and you don't get these stats of running, you won't be playing. And Gaz is on board with that, and the old club's on board with that, because we want people who put the Tamworth shirt on to give 150% every game. And if you don't have a good game, make sure your opponent don't have a good game, and that's the message that we're feeding to him. So the training's there's been a real buzz and a real excitement around the 3 sessions so far, and I'm really excited what I've seen.
You mentioned earlier on in this interview that even going into August, Tamworth have been signing players, and you get the feeling this season that if that does happen, it will be not because we're desperate to sign somebody, it will be because it fits at the right time. But we've basically got the squad there, and you've worked with them for weeks, like you say, so yeah, we should be able to, in theory, and I know you'll do everything in your power to make it happen, that we hit the ground running come the first game of the season.
Yeah, mindful of that. That was part of one of the sort of frameworks that we put in place, is to say make sure we've got the squad to work with, and like you've said, to hit the ground running, because Bob and Steve, they say that continuously about hitting the ground running, and we're going to take every competition seriously.
It's good to hear. One of the criticisms of yourself and Gaz when you were given the role as caretakers to the end of the season, and of course now you've confirmed as managers for this season, the criticism is that you didn't have the contacts and the knowledge, local knowledge of the player base and that kind of thing, so to enable us to sign quality players.
Yeah.
And of course Tom Bailey's been brought in to assist you with that side of things as head of football, but how do you feel that would benefit the club?
Well, like I said, firstly, Tom's got his sort of own skill set. He knows the league. He's been around the league and managed in the league, and also he knows in terms of players, in terms of contracts. So he's got that base of experience, and he knows a lot of players. But when we sign players here, I remember speaking to Tom and I said there's a player profile here. So a number 9's got to look like this, a number 11's got to look like this, a number 4's got to look like this, in terms of not just signing names, but they've got to have a playing profile, and it's got to look like this, because this is what the system we play, and this is how we play, and that we've been playing with me and Gaz. So he's got his own skill set. What I will say is, like I've said before, is me and Gaz sat down and we identified players. So for example, if I look at Nathaniel Roturner, if I look at Rhys Onis, Aaron Ford, Greg Casabone, they're lads who we identified before Tom came in. So some of the groundwork was done. Now, good players are good players. So when Tom came in, for example, he knew Rhys Onis. But what I will say is that I actually believe that the players you've got, you coach them and you manage them. That's your first job as a management period when we took over. So it's not about going to recruit other players. It's like, what we've got here first and foremost, and you've got to coach them to be better players. So for example, before Dennis left, I know in the last 5 games they lost 4, drawn 1. We've had the same group of players and we've coached them and managed them. In terms of knowing the league, I actually know loads of players in the league. I also know we've got a very good dressing room at the time. So what me and Gaz did first and foremost is speak to the players, because the best part of recruitment nowadays is the players. So when you speak to your experienced players like Joe Magunda, Ryan Beswick, Jazz Singh, Joel Kettle at the time, Christian Green at the time, Jordan Goff, you speak to these players and say, okay, what do you know any players in this position? Yeah. Oh, I know him as well. And then the next minute, is he good for the changing room? Yeah, he's really good for the changing room. No, he's not so good for the changing room, because they're part of that selection. So when you say building the team, we've asked, what do you think of this player in the changing room? No, he's not quite ready for the change. We'll leave him there, because we don't want to upset the changing room. At the same time, I know players at Kettering, so I've grew up with Lyndon Meikle, for example, since he's 5 years of age. So when people look and say, oh, well, have you got Rhys Onis and Nathaniel Roturner in? Well, I know Aaron O'Connor since I was about 8 years old. I've played with Aaron O'Connor, I've played with Lyndon. These are some of the players that I know in the league. I know quite a few other players. So it was a case of speaking to the players what was in our changing room, and also contacting players who I know at other clubs and saying, at the right time, without breaking rules, and saying, do you want to come over? So, and the other thing is, I'm starving, and so is Gaz, to, how can I put this, learn like a sponge, so to speak. So the coaching side and the managing side is one thing, but then knowing the league, you've got to do that quick, otherwise you're going to get sacked. Yeah. So when the season finished, me and Gaz have probably worked nearly every day, apart from a couple in total, since the season finished until now, this day, in terms of ringing players, going to meetings, speaking to each other on the phone, coming down to the club, setting out programmes. And what Tom Bailey's done is he's added, since he's come in, he's added a contact list for us. But we was generating that before, if that makes sense. But then Tom does know a lot of players, so now it's about working as a team to say, okay, what do you know, Tom, and does that player fit the profile? And if he don't, Tom Bailey's head of football. Me and Gaz are managers of football club, so they're 2 different sort of obviously titles, and that's why I said we won't change from last year. We'll add to that that skill set, and that's what it's about, because you won't change something that's, if it's not broke, don't fix it, they say. So we'll have that sort of philosophy. But yeah, Tom's got a skill set in his own, which he'll add to the group, and that's why Steve and Bob was eager to have him sort of on board, which I think George delves as well. What George was doing is doing the job that Rich is doing now, which was Russell's been brought in to do, and he's doing a great job. But then George maybe had some more experience of knowing the league in terms of recruitment. So when George goes, Rich is doing a great job at the general manager at the moment, and he's hungry to learn. And then that other side of it in terms of recruitment, maybe Tom brings that to the table, if that makes sense, because he has got a wealth of experience within the league. So it's about now blending that together and adding to what we're doing.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for your in-depth explanation on that, and I think that will help a lot of people with the understanding of how it all fits together. Yeah. And just raring for the season to go now. Yeah. Everyone at the club is, it seems. So we're looking forward to it. But I've seen some sort of fans like questioning things and was worried about signings and etc. But we've been grafting. That's the word I'll say. We've been grafting to make sure it's right for the club. Sure. Well, Andrew, thank you very much for your time this evening. Thank you, appreciate it. We'll catch up again at some point, I'm sure. I look forward to it, hopefully with some good results as well. Viewers, please remember to hit the subscribe button on YouTube so that you get notified of any new content that we put up. And thank you.